Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
There has been a lot of discussion about the proposed changes to the pension system in Grenada. It's quite a complicated subject, so we thought we would help to explain some of the key points over a series of short videos like this one. The first thing we need to do is to understand where we are, where we have come from, and where we want to go. Grenada has emerged from one of the most successful structural adjustment programs ever, certainly in the Caribbean. The government did this while enacting programs to protect its citizens, with reductions in income tax, removal of income tax on pensions, and increases in wages. But most importantly, they did all of this without the loss of a single job. We only need to look around at our neighbours to see what a remarkable achievement this really is. Barbados, for example, had a 10-year wage freeze, and workers only received a 5% increase after elections. But this was very quickly followed by significant job cuts. In Grenada, we have had numerous increases over the last 10 years, even as we went through the structural adjustment, and again, not a single job was lost. The government has also honoured its commitments to pensioners in all cases. The case of Mrs. Armstrong proves this point. The government has honoured the interpretation of the courts and paid out all monies due to ensure that the letter of the law has been followed. Two of the main areas of concern are the issue of gratuities and the issue of retirement age, and we're going to do separate videos to explain each of these in more detail, but the main things to remember are these. A gratuity is not a bonus. It's much more like a loan. A person retiring gets to take some of their money sooner rather than later and pays this back over time. This can be both good and bad. More money now means less money later, and we will discuss the issues surrounding this in our next video. But the key thing to remember is that the percentage of the gratuity doesn't change the amount that someone will receive. It only changes the timing of when they will receive it, and that too much too soon will leave too little later on. In relation to the second item, retirement age, it is no secret that everyone is living longer, and much of this is due to better healthcare, better nutrition, a safer working environment, and other government policies that protect people and help them to live longer and more active lives. That's the important part. People aren't just living longer, they're aging more slowly, and many still want to contribute beyond the current retirement age. Grenada has actually been rather late in changing its retirement age. Dominica is at 62. Trinidad and Jamaica are at 65. And in Barbados, the current age of retirement is now 67. There is also another matter of fiscal prudence. Because people are living longer in retirement, the total amounts paid out by government are increasing, and this needs to be balanced against the money that is coming in to ensure that each and every Grenadian can receive the retirement benefits that they are entitled to. And in many ways, that is what this discussion is all about. We need to ensure that whatever policies we agree to now are sustainable, and that they will work now and into the future. Let's think about all these things seriously and look at all angles. If you do, you will see the constraints that we must work within to achieve our overall objectives of ensuring that everyone has enough money to live comfortably in retirement. When you put it all together, it becomes fairly clear that the government's proposed solutions are very close to the ideal and are the best way forward for Grenada. Let's keep working together for the best of Grenada.
Government pension. What are the facts? Are all public workers entitled to pension? Are public workers owed gratuity? Here are the facts. Fact 1. The Pension Disqualification Act of 1983 was validated on April 21, 1985 by the democratically elected government, led by former Prime Minister Herbert A. Blaise. This means that public workers employed after February 22, 1985 are not legally entitled to a pension from the government of Grenada. Fact 2. The judgment in the Hermelin Armstrong case does not create legal precedence for the reinstatement of pension to public workers employed after February 22, 1985. The judgment created a legal precedence only for those workers who joined the public service in a pensionable post between April 4, 1983 and February 22nd, 1985. There were 56 such workers. The government restored pension to those 56 workers in 2018 at a cost of $7.7 million. Fact 3. All officers employed in a pensionable post who joined the service after February 22, 1985 are not legally entitled to a pension from government. They are only entitled to a pension from NIS once they meet the necessary requirements as per the NIS Act. Fact 4.
But something really touched my soul this morning. Something precious more than gold this morning. Morning neighbor, hear me, I scream and shout, what's the matter? She asked me what it's all about. Something burning deep within my soul. And this feeling I just can't control. I don't know if it's real, but I want to tell the world how I feel. You should love thy neighbor as thyself, I say, and put an end to violence today. Help your fallen brother by the way, and surely we will see a breath.
Good morning, Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, yeah?
Neighbor.
Once again, it is time for Hard Talk. My name, Sheldon Scott.
Love thy neighbor.
32 minutes after the hour of 10 o'clock, I'll be taking you up until 12. It is Hard Talk. We're live on 97.5 CitysoundFM. Yeah, on the mainland, down in River Road. Saying a special good morning to the staff down there. Good morning to you, superstar. GT, yeah, boy, yeah, GT, yeah, man, jumping and thing this morning, and man, pace, brother, pace. Good morning to you, Karen, Django, the entire home circle down there is a family, you know.
I've got to let
the City Sound FM. Good morning to my good buddy up at CRFM, the community radio on your frequency modulated. Hard as Banga, otherwise known as Campesh.
This morning.
When I say hard, it means hardcore reggae when you hear he playing, you know. Hardcore radio. CRFM 89.5. I think they call him Campesh for his hardcore radio when you tune in.
We want to sing this morning.
Up in the Sister Isles of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. We've got Sister Isle FM. Hope that you're all having a wonderful day. Linton, good morning. Lisa Marie, Mr. Fraser.
Are you ready?
DJ Jack, all of you up there at Sister Isle FM, good morning to you. Hope you all are having a wonderful day today.
It's not yet too late. We're good.
On the beautiful Sister Isles. Hey, you all have a significant amount of tourists supposed to be visiting one day very soon on the Sister Isle. I had to get some more information. Rena, message me and let me know what's going on.
Help your fallen brother by
and our good friends up there in Brooklyn. Good morning to the Brooklyn squad. Those of you listening in New York, North America, North Carolina, South Carolina. Those of you listening out there in Washington, D.C., New York State area, Washington State. Oh yeah, there's a totally different place from Washington, D.C. Yeah, nice. New Jersey. Those of you down there in Florida. Our good friend Leslie, I'm not sure if he's in Florida or if he's over there in Hawaii. So wherever you are, Leslie, good morning to you as well. Sonia up there in the freezing. But it was yesterday, minus 11, maybe minus 20 now. You know. Yeah, it having snow in New York this weekend, yeah?
violence and crime. This morning. It's reconciliation time.
Folks, remember the New National Party New York support group?
No more jealousy and grudge. This morning.
We have that activity tomorrow. Yeah, the annual brunch. Tickets $25 for adults, children under 12, $15. From 11 a.m. until 8 p.m. That's going to be taking place at 9302 Universal Palace. That's on Ditmas Avenue, the corner of E93rd Street. So those of you in the New York State area, and even if you're not and you want to cross the border and come down from Canada and so on, yeah.
And let love go. And when
so that's at 9302 Ditmas Avenue. That is the Universal Palace at the corner of 93rd Street. Remember, the starting at 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. That's the New National Party New York support group. Yeah, the 16th constituency, the diaspora. This is special good morning to those of you listening out there in the UK. I hope that you all are having a fabulous morning this morning as well. Hope that everything is going all well and okay for each and every one of you. Yeah, we know it's kind of cold in the northern climates. Those of you up there in Canada, yeah, whether you're in Quebec or Ontario or Montreal, wherever you are, we hope that you're having a special, Canada is one place I've never set foot in, yeah. Neighbor. Don't even think I've passed over Canadian airspace. Yeah, I haven't been to Canada. Neighbor. So remember, that's the New National Party support group. They have that breakfast taking place from 11 a.m. tomorrow at Universal Palace. That's at 9302 Ditmas Avenue, the corner of E93rd Street. And you only pay $25 for adults. And children under 12, you pay $15 for them, starting at 11 a.m. tomorrow, but going up until 8 p.m. So we expect the entire squad to pass and head out there. In fact, what? We're going to tell you all, Zingo, let me tell them good morning in a special way, man. Let me tell them good morning.
Let's sing good morning. Your little wake up. Wake up. I sing good morning. Your little wake up. Wake up. Until you got a
yes, indeed. Yeah, my good friend Devon, he's still out. Still a little under the weather. That flu is not easy, man. Folks, if you've got that flu, be very, very, very careful with it. And being in the air condition that we're in now is not the best thing for him. Health first, so he has not been in with us this week. Hopefully he'll be able to return next week if he's back up to scratch. Or Devon, if it's not, you break one hand, then the next thing is the cold. I know. Like, go in the bush and take a bath. Yeah, get some Carriacou and then go in the bush and take a bath, boy. Brenda, here you've got an independent special. Message me and let me know exactly what it is, girl. Yeah. See someone is saying good morning, bro, Sheldon, man. No, it's only want to say morning, bro, Sheldon, yeah?
Wake up. I say good morning. Jolly Juve, wake up. Until you run fast.
It's a beautiful Friday on the Isle of Spice, yeah?
The devil coming, the jump coming, run fast. The devil coming, the jump coming, run fast.
And tomorrow it's gonna be the National Motorcade, Independence Motorcade. Put on your national colors as you head around the island, yeah? Independence Motorcade. You want to hear the ad? Let me play the ad for you all, man. Let me give you all a piece of the ad, yeah? Independence Motorcade tomorrow.
That time again for our colors to be displayed with pride. Time to hit the road with excitement. Time for the red, green, and gold. This Saturday, January 19th. It's time for the National Independence Motorcade. Decorate your vehicles, team up, carpool, grab your team, and we're hitting the road. Motorcade assembles at Burns Point in St. George and leaves at 9 a.m. Making our way onto the town of St. George, onto River Road, up Marisol, down the lane, onto Woodlands, all the way up the eastern side onto Sautez, and down the western side. It's a fun-filled and action-packed day of activities with artists performing at various stops. Cook your oil down and let's have a ball of a time. This Saturday, January 19th, the National Independence Motorcade, celebrating 45 years under the theme Building Resilience and Enhancing Social and Economic Transformation. And don't forget our National Colors Day, February 6th.
Yeah, as you say, National Colors, Zingo, let me tell them about National Colors. But I'm working with you this morning, Zingo.
Who goes there?
Good morning to you, Bev. Hope you're having a fabulous day, my dear. We know that you're there with us. Remember the rebroadcast, takes place at 8 p.m. via CRFM 89.5 and in Brooklyn from 10 p.m. via 94.9. Plus the video, as soon as we're done, the video is available on YouTube as well as on Facebook. So you could look for Hard Talk Grenada on YouTube, put it up on your smart TV and so on. It's like you're in studio with us, and you can also look at it on Facebook, yeah? So whether you're traveling on the bus or you're at home, or you're just transacting some business, you're waiting in the bank in town, you don't have to miss Hard Talk. You can listen to us on terrestrial radio, that's 97.5, 89.5, Carriacou 92.9, and in Brooklyn on 94.9. Or you can get us online. You can also find us on www.hardtalkgrenada.com. Say a special good morning to Mr. Curtis Mills out there in Carriacou. All my good friends down there, wherever you are in Carriacou, Bogles, and those of you in Kako, 6 Roads. Yeah, my friends in Dover, my family in Montreal and every other part of Carriacou, my family in Petit Martinique, yeah. They still wondering who's my family, yeah. Max and Francis, good morning to you. Good morning to you, yeah, Mommy Jen, yeah. Sure, ma, good morning. National Motorcade tomorrow. Remember, they're teaming up right on the Burns Point from 9 a.m. So dress your vehicles, put on your national colors, and head on out. Yeah, it is our 45th anniversary of independence. You know what? I wonder what was taking place when independence, 45 years ago or so, what was taking place in Grenada? Let me see if I could find something to tell us.
Willingly or not, Grenada does seem to be marching towards independence. If all goes according to plan on Thursday, this tiny island of spices will join Bermuda, Barbados, and Trinidad in autonomy from Britain. And yet, there isn't much spontaneous joy or celebration. For one thing, much of the business section in the capital city is in shambles following last week's riots. The country is still in the grips of a general strike. There is no electricity, no telephones, virtually no contact with the outside. Food and gasoline are scarce. At roadside congregations, prayers are offered up daily for the country. At the same time, many of Grenada's 110,000 citizens welcome a Sunday parade to give them something else to think about. But through it all, Grenada's Prime Minister, Eric Gary, has shown little sign of concern. Calls for his resignation from opposition parties fall on deaf ears. Outwardly charming, he appears unflappable, serene in the knowledge of his own almost dictatorial power, and waves aside the possibility that he and his government could be overthrown in the next few days.
By God, no, we are an entrenched government. We've been here for a long time.
Yeah, that's what was taking place around this time. So, yeah, you had strikes, you had riots, and, most of the business section, as they said, were closed. And so what we're going to do is actually show you the video of those things next week. Yeah, we're going to throw up the videos, and so you can see what Grenada was looking like in 1974, sorry. And you'll also see what Grenada was looking like in the 1950s and even the 1940s, and we'll go back as far as the 1930s and show you what Grenada used to look like back in those days. And also we'll be throwing up from time to time during the next couple weeks some videos of various aspects and photographs of various aspects of Grenada's history. So you can expect to be seeing and hearing those. Those of you who are viewing online, you'd be able to see it, and those of you who are listening on air, you'll be able to hear at least what we're saying. Yeah, but it's better if you could have viewed it, you understand? That look nice, you understand? Good.
Yeah, inside the one and only original master mixer sing with the original crazy man. Man as a man, yeah. Baby, baby, this is the time for unity, baby. Too much war. For so long, we've been.
Cousin Christine, good morning. Hope you're having a wonderful morning this morning, my dear.
Black versus white, Negro versus Indian, red versus brown, Arabs versus Asian.
At the end of the day, remember it's one Grenada. Huh? All of us have to share out of the same piece of pie. One Grenada. Not 2, 3, 4, or 5, but one Grenada. Grenada, Mississippi is not Grenada, West Indies. So that ain't counted.
Worries and corruption, bacchanal in every land. I want you to choke, jumping, 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 choke, jumping, 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 choke, jumping, jumping, jumping.
Now 45 years.
Put your rag in the air now. Put your flag in the
45 years later. Although it's calm right now, I don't find the industrial climate is as tense as some people make it want to look. Yeah. It's not as tense as that. Good morning, Shermaine. Hope you're having a wonderful day thus far and that you have an excellent, extremely beautiful one for the remainder.
Guyanese, they war against Jamaican. Let us show the world we could be one Caribbean because it is what time it is, what time it is. Lord, Lord, I'm tired of the wanting, the cussing and the fighting. I just can't.
OG, good morning, bro.
Worries and corruption. Back and
see you a little later, eh? I know you're listening wherever you are. We say a special good morning to Prime Minister Dr. The Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. Also to Mrs. Mitchell and Mrs. Mitchell.
Look at the war in Afghanistan. Look at the war in Pakistan. Time to unite.
And also to your sister, Prime Minister.
In America, how much you know the people suffer?
She's an avid listener of Hard Talk. Trying to remember her name right now, it's slipping me.
Look at the war with the Philippines. Look at the war in Venezuela. Look at the war with that.
And also to all of my MPs, yeah?
Countries full with tension.
The Honorable Oliver Joseph, good morning to you, sir.
Trade unions versus politicians.
Very hard-working man, you know.
It's all the boss man. Better wage.
As are all of our MPs. Good morning to the Honorable Kate Skeeter Lewis. I have a little surprise for you today, huh? A little later in the day. The Honorable Yolan Bain Hosford. A darling lady, if there ever was one. so she could dress in. I love to see how she does put herself away. The Honorable Emlyn Pear, a mother of all youth, huh?
Put your rag in the air now. Put your flag in the air now.
A wonderful lady.
Put your rag in the air now. Put your flag in the air now.
Honorable Delma Thomas,
Put your flag in the air now.
always so caring, yeah? That if it's one person I know, yeah, I know all the MPs, it happens to them. But if it's one MP that I know that's break down in tears sometimes when she hears certain stories, man. And that's not no act because she ain't doing it in public. That's a private thing. Because she really feels the pain and sorrow of some persons and the things that some people go through. Very caring individual. Honorable Pamela Moses, the historical lady.
Not only
First ever female member of parliament for St. Patrick East.
Vincent Jan, war against
Educator, many years below her belt.
war against the Bajans. Guyanese, they war against Jamaica.
You know the people of St. Patrick East are very proud of her.
Yeah, because it is. What time it is? What time it is?
They created her for her to come back and assist them.
Because
So they're proud of her.
I just cannot take these things no more, no more, no more.
My good buddy, the Honorable Anthony Boson.
Now in every land, I want to go jump, jumping, 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 jump, jumping, jumping, jumping.
And whether it's education or sports or finance, he's just par excellence.
Tell them it is. What time it is?
Ton, morning.
Put your rag in the air now. Put your
I'll get a smile out of him. We have the lioness in St. Mark.
Look at the war dog in Pakistan. Time to unite.
Every time she beats somebody to just disappear from the scene, man.
In America, how much innocent people suffer. Time to
Man just come in, collect the licks and go.
look at the one in Palestine. Look at the one.
These days, man, are even waiting for the votes to finish counting in St. Mark's. By the time they start to count and think that is it, she has gone.
Labor wars, blocking negotiation. Trade unions versus politicians. Them work
Yes, indeed, the Honorable Dr. Clarice Modest. Yeah.
better wage, better working country.
Wonderful lady, if there ever was one.
Going to arbitration because it is. Tell everything.
Doc, man.
Everything. Lord.
Let me also, as I'm in St. Mark, let me say a belated happy birthday to Dr. Julie Dubois.
No more, no more, no more, no more. Worries and corruption, bacchanal in every
That's
land.
why you're so talented, lady. Not only in the field of dentistry, but in the cultural arts. You're January born, yeah? Some very talented people born around this time, you know.
Put your rag in the air now.
I ain't knocking the rest of the year because I'm not January born.
Put your
There's some very talented people born around this time.
rag in the air now. Put your flag in the air now. Lord.
Yes, indeed, it is time to unite. Yeah. Yes, it is time to unite, people.
What time it is?
Going down to St. John.
Daddy watching, the cussing and the fighting. I just cannot take these things no more.
As a scientist himself, you know,
Worries and
Mr. Alvin Dabrio,
I want to go jump,
the Honorable.
jump, jumping, 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 jump, jumping, jumping, jumping.
St. John said they see work before, but they never see work like that.
Time to tell them it is.
I think Alvin have a share in the asphalt plant and thing, you know, because I find St. John does get more than everybody else. You know. Whether it's sidewalks or roads or fixing houses or people getting university opportunities, whatever it is, Brother Alvin Dabrio ensures that the people of St. John are well taken care of.
With our small islands, Vincent Jan, war against
For the trucks driven by locals and so on to be working on Christmas Day to make sure that that health facility in St. John is built in a short space of time. Brother Alvin Dabrio, you're walking.
Lord, I'm tired of the wanting, the cussing and the fighting. I just cannot take these things.
Christmas Day, you know.
No more. Worries and corruption, bacchanal in every land. I want to go jump.
Give themselves a time frame when it must be done in. They're sticking to that. Brother Carlton Frederick, I hear you massacre a man on the radio this week, man. That was a massacre. I think I hear him since then.
Look at the war in Afghanistan.
When you come down to the town.
To unite. Oh, time to unite.
Well, if you like leave out Carriacou, I leave in Carriacou. I come in Carriacou just now.
Time to unite.
We're coming down to town first.
Look at the one with the Palestine. Look at
I must talk about the man they call Pedro.
Look at the one with Argentina. Many times.
There's a gentleman that loves Grenada to his heart, yeah?
Lock in negotiation.
He loves people.
Versus politician. Them workers against all the boss man.
The amount of people that he has helped personally, and I'm speaking about going to court and helping people and so on. You have some other people, like one was on radio last night, they're only there to speak all sorts of negatives, but ask them how many people they actually help. Who is original tongue, this and original tongue that. Ask them how many town people that their child, because of different circumstances, things happen, and they ended up in some sort of legal problem and they had to go to court and so. Ask them how much of them that they represent. Ask them fellas from down in the south of the island, or it could be whichever part of Grenada and even Carriacou. When poor people, children find themselves in problem and they need someone to listen to them, they need someone to help them. Ask them if they ever step in the breach and decide they're going to help this poor people child. And we're not talking just about the court, other ways too. I can say that about the Honorable Peter David. I can't say that about these people that jumping on radio. They have all sorts of negative things to say. But you know what? If they go over to Young Street, those of you who are very familiar with town know where Young Street is, right? If they go over to Young Street, or they go very close to the National Museum, there's a massive building next to the National Museum there called Courts. No, not courts for lawyer. Courts for furniture. Because Miss Claudette Joseph, I think you need to go in that courts and buy a seat, because that's the only one you will ever get in Grenada.
Them Trinis, they war against the Bajans. Guyanese, they war against Jamaica.
Definitely ain't gonna be in Parliament. Except if you go and sit in the visitors gallery. Otherwise, you have to go in courts and buy a seat. Because you ain't beaten Pedro.
I just cannot take these things no more, no more, no more, no more. Worries and corruption, bacchanal in every land. I want you to jump, jumping, 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 jump, jumping, 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 jump, jumping, jumping, jumping.
At 10:58, we have a man who's a very quiet man. You see Honorable Gregory Bowen? That man is one of the hardest working people I have ever known.
Time to unite. Look at the bomb in America. How much innocent people suffer. Time to unite.
Extremely hard worker.
Look at the one in Palestine. Look at the one.
Such a resourceful individual that any minister can go and ask him for assistance on any issue and get quality information, quality assistance, yet quality guidance on any beat, agriculture beat, health beat, youth beat, whatever. Even the Prime Minister says sometimes he don't have time to go through something and he say, okay, pass it by Greg. The white hair man. Yes, man, St. George Southeast. We go over to the Northeast. We have another quiet man. Toby, he ain't talking and he just doing what he had to do. He ain't seen Toby on no television program, radio program, talk. Just very quietly doing what he has to do as the Member of Parliament for the people of St. George Northeast. All of them who had loud mouth and all kind of thing about they go beat him and they go do this and they go do that, yeah, all he had to do similar. All he was a lawyer too, so all he could do the same as Claudette. Go over by courts. That's the only place you're getting a seat. Yes, indeed. And watch, when we go down to the south of the island, we have a gentleman down there, man. Yeah. Honorable Nicholas Steele. And Nicky showed them he could do things. Nicky showed them he could win the tongue of St. George and move from the tongue of St. George and go down to the south of the island and win too.
Not only with those bigger nations.
There are not many politicians that could do that. That could move from one seat, go to the next seat and win that seat. Could win a seat Leave there, go to the next seat. The next election, you know, and win that seat too. There may have been one or two in the past that done that. There may be one or two now that can do it. But there's one that has proven that he can do it. There's definitely none outside of the NNP that can do it. So he has proven that he has the competency, capability, and he's an excellent Minister of Health. We're not saying that healthcare is perfect in Grenada. He is not saying that healthcare is perfect in Grenada. But it's a work in progress. Yeah? Name one time you ever see so many ambulances, new ambulances come in. Then you have that major infrastructural development that's taking place. When have you seen so many nurses in a short period of time hired? A promise made, a promise kept, yeah? So we're seeing quite a few things taking place within that Ministry of Health. Much more to be done. We're not saying it's perfect. He's not saying it's perfect. If he thought it was perfect, he'd have probably tell the Prime Minister, Prime Minister, I already found another ministry now. I think I do all I could do in that ministry there, yeah. But there's still a lot that he's doing. And I think his managerial skills has a lot to do with what he has been able to achieve thus far. And what will be achieved that he has set in train. And I had to go home. I had to go to Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Okay, it had some people beating their chest, they beating Kindra. Oh, where she come out? All sorts of things they try. But what has happened now? Yeah, when you look around Carriacou, she has taken the baton that was handed to her by the Honorable Elvin G. Nimrod and she run with it. And she run in a proper leg. Yeah, she has run with that baton between last year and this year. When you see the list of things and the developments that are taking place in Carriacou and Petit Martinique, you have to say that she's working. If that is what has been achieved in this 1 year period, imagine what you'd be seeing by the end of the 5 year period. Yeah? Carriacou and Petit Martinique, you indeed have to be proud. You made the right choice on March the 13th.
Yeah, inside the one and only original master mixer Zingo, the original.
Folks, the phone lines are open 440-7377.
What do you mean?
Just had to say a good morning to all of my MPs,
For unity, baby. Too much war. For so long, we've been living in division. War and hate, amongst race and nation. Black versus white, Negro versus Indian. Red versus brown, Arabs versus Asian. Racial war.
Still waiting. I haven't heard my friend LL. LL, what happened to you, man? LL are still waiting to hear you say something, man. The Public Workers Union say thanks, I can hear a little thanks from you, man. Hey, what kind of thing is that? Hey.
Just cannot take this thing, no more, no more, no more, no more. Worries and corruption, back and all in every land. I wanted to choke, jumping, 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 choke, jumping, 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 choke, jumping, jumping.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, man. I find yeah.
Tell them it is, what time it is. Put your rag in the air now, put your flag in the air now, Lord, Lord. Not only with those bigger nations, it's a war.
Yes, so indeed, the phone number 440-7377. And for those of you out there in the US, 347-329-3101. I heard they have a snowstorm passing this weekend, so I know a lot of people looking for WeiVybz right now, and they're telling them this. I know they're telling WeiVybz this morning.
Come. Everybody come, let we go back home.
If you jump the plane now, you could be here in time for the Independence Motorcade in the morning. 9 a.m. leaving from Burns Point. Get your Grenada flag, put on your national colors. And you know, it's interesting, yeah, because I I'm looking, this week we had the announcement that on Monday you will have the early payment of salaries. Yeah, it is not a common thing. It's not something that happens every year. It's not something that happens every month. When I say early salaries, I mean earlier than normal, because this new National Party administration does pay before the 28th, 29th of the month, money already in accounts and that sort of thing. Yeah? In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if some people check later today and it's there already. I would not be surprised if that happened. If some people check later today or tomorrow and the money there already. Right? I'm just saying thing, me no. But I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Because this party makes sure that it deals with the issues at hand, not just run away from them. So you know, people have been paid early in December. You know that the amount of money, even though they conserve, all of us could shout out and say, well, they need to learn to manage their money and they need to learn to have I was saying it too, people need to learn to manage their money and so, but it just will not happen for everyone. And circumstances sometimes come up during that period of time that mean that you have to utilize money that you otherwise would have held on to and decided that you're going to use for the entire month of January. And you find yourself by the 15th of January, you're running on fumes. So it is important, yeah, to deal with issues like these in a humanistic way, in a humanitarian way. So that the cabinet of Grenada did what they did not have to do. They could have decided that, look, we're not obligated to pay right now. People could get their money the week after next week. They could have said we're not obligated to pay on Monday. And the government is not obligated to pay, but has decided to do so as a goodwill gesture because they understand what is going on. Ministers are hearing what people saying out there right now, and boy, funds low January long week. So they've decided that they're going to take that move and that they're going to ensure that salaries are paid earlier than normal. Earlier than the normal early. So instead of saying early, we have to say early. Yeah, it's not early. It's early. Because the usual early is around the 27th. So sometime you check your little bank and thing and you realize your account looking kind of healthy, eh? Yeah, 27, 28, sometime you check there and you realize. Got to the stage when some people started going and check the teller on the 20th. I'll be, oh gosh, someone else will do it, man. 20th, I'll go in and check there to see if government pay already. Yeah. So, and folks, those of you under the SEED program, remember you have to collect your money, the pensioners and so, and the people under the SEED program, you have to collect your money yesterday, today, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. If you don't collect it by Wednesday, remember it's going back to the treasury and you would not get that again. Eh? The following month, you're only getting the following month's money and you would have lost the one for the month of January. So those of you that have to collect, go collect your little kakada, eh? Collect your little something. Nice. Go and collect it.
If you're in London, Toronto, and New York, Miami, calling everybody all over. It doesn't matter wherever you are. I just want everybody pack everything and come. There we go back home. There we go back home. The place to be, yeah, with family. Oh yeah. Just come down and you will see. Forget the rest, yeah. Release the stress. Oh yeah. It's more than a fantasy. So listen what I have to say. Come with me and let's get away. There is no need for you to worry. Everything gonna be okay. Everybody come. There we go back home.
Miss Joseph, good morning. Hey, my good friend Stephen, good morning, man. Let me say good morning to the customs and immigration officers, Coast Guard officers, police officers, nurses, doctors, wherever you are, the district nurses. Those of you at the General Hospital, Princess Alice Hospital, wherever you are, say a special good morning to each and every one of you. Princess Royale out there in Carriacou.
It doesn't matter wherever you are. I just want everybody pack everything and come. There we go back home. There we go back home. Come. We go eat some food together.
Yeah, hear Buju come in Grenada.
Yes, we gonna
See a set of people looking for all kind of ticket and thing already. And then a set of people cussing them and saying if all you're going and pay. Listen, I think sometimes some of us need to learn to mind our own business on certain things. If a person decides that there is a concert and they want to go to the concert, that is the person's business because they ain't using your money to go to the concert. So if they decide that they want to go and buy a nice outfit and they want to rent a vehicle for the weekend and they want to go to the concert, that is their business. Why is some of you operating so uptight in relation to this? We live in a democracy. And in a democracy, if a person decides that that is what they want to do, then they can legally go ahead and do it once it's within the confines of the law. So if they want to spend whatever amount of money for a ticket to go and see an artist, that is their business. Maybe if you mind your business a bit more, you too might be able to go to the concert. Because I'm pretty sure it's not you that they come in and ask for the money to go. If they come in and ask you for the money to go to the concert, it's a different story. You could tell them directly. But people want to upset with people because they're excited over a show and they want to go. Come on, man. Get real with that now. Seriously, it's the same thing as the 10-year challenge. Some people, I haven't taken part in it. But I haven't told people not to take part in it. It's their business. It's their Facebook account. They're paying for the data from be it Flow or Digicel. So if they want to take part in it, if you don't like what they're showing, you just mute them from your timeline. You don't have to see them. But you want to cuss people because they're doing that? That's their business. That's their business. I think sometimes we have to learn boundaries. I really think that sometimes we have to learn boundaries. Yeah? If you like it, it's up to you. If you don't like it, it's up to you. Because, this extends over to politics. The same way that some people want to cuss you and tell you, oh, you're going concert and you're spending all that money. The same way some people want to tell you, oh, you're going and vote for that political party. That's none of their business. It's your business. You have made a conscious decision based on the information before you. So if you want to go to a concert, that's your business. You want to vote for a particular political party, that's your business. You want to support a particular political party, that is your business. No one can ever find anywhere here me cussing people for supporting the NDC. All the audio and video is online. Find it. Because I wouldn't do that. That's your business. It's the same way it's my business if I support the New National Party. Or anyone that supports whichever party they want to support. That's all part of our democracy and independence. That we can vote for which party we want. And we could go to which party we want. That if we want to take part in a 10-year challenge or whatever challenge it is on Facebook, it's up to us. It's our Facebook account. Who's paying for it? Well, some of us need to learn our boundary. I think some of us are so up in other people's business that we're not spending enough time on our own. And therefore, as individuals, you don't progress in life. And other people are coming up from behind, meet you where you are, and pass you in life. And you're behind the back talking, and you have to be behind the back talking because they're in front of you. That's why you have to talk behind the back. Because you spent so much time studying their business and you didn't spend time on yours. That's why you end up in that situation. So whether it's politics, whether it's a fete, whether it's something going on at the person's home, that's their business. Once it doesn't break the law, it's their business. Yeah? In the same context, I'd like to continue to call on all of you. If you have any information that can lead to the arrest of the escaped prisoner, please call your nearest police station, not your nearest radio station. I think we're getting the stations mixed up. Call your nearest police station, not your nearest radio station. Right? So call your nearest police station, give them the correct information and a warning there that if you call with false information, now you may honestly believe that you've seen the individual, but there may or may not be people that calling and giving wrong information willfully. And if you are one of those people, note that you could be charged for that. if it is found that you are willfully giving wrong information. In other words, you're calling and say he in one area because you're assisting him to get the police to go to that area because he's in another area. Yeah, if you're doing that sort of thing, expect the police to be knocking on your door. Eh? Yeah, don't do that, Popo. Don't do it. All right? Nice, Popo? Good? If it is found that you're one of the people doing them kind of thing, all right. Nice? Good. 440-7377-347-329-3101. Those are the numbers for you to call and get on the inside. What I want to do right now, though, is that there's a very interesting piece of audio, and I'm going to ask my technical guy to put the video up with it right in a short while. We're going to go with that, right? We're going to go with that one in a short while. Let me just make sure I have it queued properly.
Let we go back home. Everybody come, let we go back home. Let we go back home. Everybody come, let we go back home. If you're in London, Toronto, and New York, Miami, calling everybody all over. It doesn't matter wherever you are. I just want everybody pack everything and come. Let we go back home. Let we go back home.
Yeah, because so much misinformation has been put out there in relation to the issue of gratuities and pension and so on. I want us to hear from an individual who I know has a clear understanding of the entire issue and finance in general. That is His Excellency Timothy Antoine. Yeah. In fact, as of May, we'll be receiving the money with his signature on it, the kind of plastic money now, so they're bringing out a new type of money. Yeah, it's not going to be the kind of paper money that we have right now. It's going to be more like the one you get in Canada and those places. Yeah, the kind of paper money. Plastic money. You know, made out of, well, not plastic, but it's a material that feels like plastic. Longer lasting, pretty looking, change in design, and the signature of two GBSS boys. Well, two GBSS boys featured on one bill, and a GBSS boy featured on all. I'm saying that I'm not a GBSS boy. All right, nice. So, folks, let me let you hear what His Excellency Timothy Antoine had to say at the ending of last year at a NIS function in relation to the issue of pensions and gratuity and all of that. I think it's a worthwhile listen, and I want you to pay particular attention to what is being said. So I'm going to bring that up for you in a short. I'm just waiting for Mr. Technical Man to get his stuff up there. Just waiting for him to get it up there. So I'll go with mine right about now.
Let me start by saying or asking the question. The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank and the National Insurance Scheme have several things in common. Can anyone name one? One thing that the NIS and the ECCB shares in common? Money? I tell you a secret. We take care of the currency. We don't print any money in the ECCB. A lot of people, somebody once said to me, I wonder if he had the key for the vault. I wouldn't even know where to start to find the vault. But that's another matter. Very simply put, the one thing that we have in common that I want to mention right now is the very obvious one. We're both 35 years old. Yes. And I was waiting for that because I got a little prize for somebody, but anyhow. So NIS was born in April 1983 officially. ECCB was born in October 1983 officially. So we just celebrated our 35th anniversary as well. And so we have that in common. So congratulations to the National Insurance Scheme. And yes, a round of applause. And we celebrate together. Now it has been argued that the National Insurance Scheme is the most important social safety net in the history of this country. I want to pause and let that sink in for a moment. It has been argued that the National Insurance Scheme is the most important safety net, social safety net, in the history of our country. And I'm inclined to agree. Now, education is investment, so I'm not talking about education. But when we think of what the NIS is, has been, and must continue to be, I think we must all accept that it is the most important safety net in our country. And it is more than a safety net. It's a pension fund, it's scholarships, homes, so many things have happened through the NIS that it behooves us to pay attention to its sustainability. And that takes me then to the theme that I've been presented with tonight. And that theme is forging ahead responsibly to preserve your tomorrow. Now, as I reflect on this theme, I am led to ask a few questions. But before I do that, let me try to move this forward and give you a quick context to where the NIS is, where Grenada is. So I put together a few slides very quickly just to illustrate a few points. These days, people like to watch movies. So I'm going to put a few slides as I go through just to give you a visual for a couple of the points that I will make tonight. But I want to start with the regional economy, because obviously I'm coming from the central bank. So the ECCU, the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, is in fact an economy in and of itself made up of 8 economies or 8 countries. In that economy, which is an $18.4 billion economy with 630 persons, Grenada ranks 3rd. Grenada is the 3rd largest contributor in the ECCU economy. So if you look left of screen, or my right, you will see that Grenada contributes 16% of the regional economy. So the first one is St. Lucia, 24%, Antigua and Barbuda, 21%, Grenada, 16%. So the ECCB and the ECCU has a very vested interest in the performance of Grenada's economy, because to the extent that Grenada does well, it helps the regional economy. And that's an important thing for you to consider. Now, sustainability. And when Mr. Logie mentioned Derek Osborne, I smiled, because Derek is known to many of us. He's been an actuary, he's done a lot of work in Grenada for many years on the scheme itself, the fund itself. And a long time ago, back in 2004, in a paper for Carriacou, Derek highlighted 4 key ingredients for sustainability. 4 key ingredients. And for me, those ingredients are timeless. And I want to rely on that framework tonight to make the 3 points, really, that I want to make. 3 points tonight. The first is, for a scheme or fund to be sustainable, it must operate in a healthy and growing economy. Second, the system must be well designed. Third, accurate and efficient administration. And fourth, honest and responsible government. Now, let's look at these very quickly as we try to come to an understanding of where we are with respect to the sustainability of the NIS. So if we think about healthy and growing economies, this is what we see. The Grenadian economy is experiencing significant growth. In fact, after the years of the Great Recession, that period between 2009 and 2012, and then the recovery, you notice from 2014 onward, in fact, before 2014, but really took off in 2014, you see growth in several years in excess of 5%. And the red line that you see going straight across is the target growth rate we have in the ECCU. We're targeting a growth rate of 5%. We believe that at 5%, if we can sustain that, in 10 years' time or so, we can double, essentially, the GDP, or the economic pie that we have to share among our people. So if you look at the screen, you will notice that Grenada is growing very well. In fact, Grenada is one of the fastest growing economies in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union as we speak. So in terms of Derek's question about whether it's healthy and growing, yes, Grenada is growing. Is it healthy? Maybe I have to have the Minister of Health that question. But since this is an economic question, I will say to you that the health of the country is improving, as suggested by the IMF, as reviewed by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, and others who have looked at the Grenadian economy. So yes, there is growth and the health is improving. So that's the first ingredient for sustainability. When there's a downturn in the economy, we see contribution income fall. We see job losses. So clearly there's a direct connection. The other thing that we notice in Grenada right now is that the debt is falling. So if you look at the screen, you would notice that the debt peaked in 2012-13 at around 107%. The debt is now down to around 64%. And the expectation is that if Grenada continues on the current track, the debt to GDP ratio will get to 55% by 2020, in 2 years' time. That's a remarkable recovery from where we were. And in fact, the target in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union is for all of our countries to get to below 60%. So again, on the first criterion being health and growth, we see that the Grenadian economy is growing and is recovering in terms of its health. Now we go to the second, if I could get back, well-designed system. Now, here is what we have before us. This system was designed 35 years ago. And here's the thing. The retirement age or pensionable age has not changed. It is still 60. The contribution rate has not been changed since 1998. That's 20 years ago. So the contribution rate right now is, everybody knows, 11%. 4.5 employer, 4.5 employee. And then, as the minister himself acknowledged in his statement, we have now seen since 2016 a shift where expenditure now exceeds contribution income. So, on that score, we're not doing too well. And the scheme has issues. So touch your neighbor and say, we have some issues. We have some issues. Yeah. So we have to look into that. And I was very pleased because, Minister, that is exactly where I was going. When the minister acknowledged that they will be are committed to begin the process starting as early as next year. That is absolutely important. Accurate and efficient administration. Well, the last time I checked, and based on what I heard tonight, this is one of the most efficient social security schemes in the Caribbean. So that is a check. That's high marks. And the final one that we want to look at is honest and responsible government. Mr. Logie spoke to you about the relationship between NIB and the government and the state. But I want to speak to responsible government. In 2015, Grenada passed what, in my view, in my humble estimation, is the most far-reaching fiscal reform in the history of this country. In the history of this country. You know what that was? Do you know what that is? The Fiscal Responsibility Act, or the Fiscal Responsibility Law. As somebody who worked in the Ministry of Finance and knows what it was to not be able to pay salaries on occasion, and knows what it was to have cash flow problems, where we owe in Tom, Dick, and Harry. When we started the homegrown program, one of the things I kept getting asked from very ordinary citizens as I moved around the country, helping to make the case for why we needed to make those sacrifices at that particular point in time. One of the things I constantly heard from people, P.S., Mr. Antoine, Timmy, how are we going to ensure that we're not back here in 5 years' time or 10 years' time, asking the nation to make the same sacrifices again? How are we going to make sure? And that question troubled me, preoccupied me, exercised me. And that was the motivation, folks. Some of you think it's the IMF. I have news for you tonight. That was the motivation for the Fiscal Responsibility Act. If you go back and check the records, in 2011, I called for that fiscal responsibility to be put in the Constitution of Grenada. Now, obviously, we can't get constitutional reform in Grenada. That, we know how hard that is. And I knew it would be a high bar. But having sat in the Ministry of Finance all those years, I was persuaded that we needed something bigger than a budget, something bigger than the government of the day, that would guide us and bind us to fiscal responsibility, to fiscal propriety, to fiscal discipline. And it had to be a fiscal responsibility framework. That was passed in 2015, came into force in 2016. And that's a very important framework. Unless we think that this framework is about controlling negotiations with the unions, think again. This framework, in fact, forces government to live within its means. So unions sometimes might find it a little bit straitjacketing, find it a little bit constraining. But guess what? The government also finds it constraining. But that is how it has to be. So Mr. Logie, you have to understand how it warmed my heart this evening when I heard that government is up to date with their contributions to the NIS. That could not have been possible without the fiscal responsibility legislation. Because you see, after the program ended, it was very easy for the government to go back into its old spending, bad spending ways, spending money it did not have, and living above its means, and then coming back to the nation and say, sacrifice is required again. And Grenadians, you need to understand this. Don't leave this in the hands of our politicians. And do not leave this in the hands of people on this side. Grenadians have to own this law, because ultimately the sustainability of government and the sustainability of the scheme is tied up in the behavior of the government. Do you know that if tomorrow NIS runs out of money, you know who has to bail out NIS? Who has to bail out NIS? Hello? You're not sure? Government has to bail out the NIS. But government has to have the means to bail out the NIS. And I could think of a couple countries which shall remain nameless right now, if called upon, cannot help their social security schemes. So this is a very, very important issue. And you have to be the guardians of fiscal responsibility. In Germany, no government is going to stay in office if they bad spend and they poor spend and they overspend. The German people understand it's deep within their psyche. You have to manage well. And I'm saying to you this evening, it doesn't matter who is in government. Grenadians, we have to take responsibility and insist that the government manages its finances, puts its fiscal house in order, and keeps the house in order. That is what that fiscal responsibility legislation is all about. And that is what responsible government is all about. I move on before I wrap up. A few facts, some of which we have already seen, so I'm going to move through this very quickly. These are just some key facts about the NIS. And I noticed the coverage ratio is around 85%, which is good. The contributors are probably closer to 53,000 people now. That's about half the population right there. And we noticed the number of contributions to pensioners is around 6.3. That is actually falling because it was 7.6 in 2007. Remember how it works. It's an intergenerational transfer. You are paying today so that tomorrow, Mr. Logie now can go home and get his pension. Yes? We have to make sure that that is there. But when you retire 10 years from now or 20 years from now, we have to make sure that you too can get your pension. So those who contribute today have to pay for those who, and that's the way it works. So we have to watch that because that number is beginning to fall. Still relatively high because the scheme is not yet mature, but it's getting up there. Now, I want to then move very quickly to a couple selected issues, because I want to make the point, before I conclude, that what the Social Security, what NIS is facing in Grenada is not unique to Grenada. It's not unique to Grenada. In fact, Social Security schemes all over the world are dealing with several challenges. And Mr. Logie mentioned the International Social Security Administration. Here are some of the challenges that they are dealing with right now. Aging. And what has been the response for aging? People living longer? It's raising the retirement age. So I want you to understand that when you hear raise the retirement age, some of you get concerned because you're thinking, I am about to retire in 5 years' time or 10 years' time, and instead of looking forward to retirement, I have to work longer. But this is the response to the retirement age, to the issue of aging. People are living longer. Retirement age has had to go up. Climate change, that's real. What does that mean for the NIS? It means that we have to look at our disaster plans. It means that we have to look at our business continuity plans. because they will come. This is something in the central bank we constantly are looking at. Even right now, we are overhauling our plan again in light of the constant and existential threats that is climate change. High unemployment. Some countries, not Grenada, has introduced unemployment. But I remember after Hurricane Ivan, you will recall, for a short while, the government did introduce an unemployment benefit. The problem with that was good for the people involved, but it was not funded. So you understand the challenge there. If you go and you deliver benefits that are not funded, ultimately you are going to run into a challenge. And then what we noticed globally, and that is you're going to see that more and more in Grenada, is a shift in the labor market. So more and more you're seeing people who are doing what they call in the gig economy, working for themselves. The people who drive Uber, the people who drive Lyft. You have people working in more and more automation. And so in some countries, they are now registering not just individuals or human beings, but they are also registering machines. Because they're saying if machines are going to work, and if in some cases machines are going to replace people, then machines will have to make a contribution as well, just to cover and to make sure that they continue to get their contribution. I kid you not, in Europe, they are beginning to register machines under Social Security to make sure that they can get their contribution. So I'm suggesting to NIS, you have to keep your eyes out for new areas of employment as the digital economy emerges and bring these people into the net and make them contributors to the scheme so that you can continue to grow the fund. Now, my recommendation before I conclude, and I only have 3. So the first recommendation, and I've already spoken to this, but I want to reiterate. Respect and adhere to Grenada's fiscal responsibility law. This is essential for both Grenada's fiscal and debt sustainability and the sustainability of the NIS. And the sustainability of the NIS. Remember what I told you. If NIS runs out of money, the state has to perform. The reason why the state is paying up now is because its fiscal house is in order. You want to keep that way. So you need to make sure government stays accountable in terms of its fiscal performance. The second recommendation, and these are some of the provisions. How many of you have actually read the fiscal responsibility law? How many people have read the fiscal responsibility? Could I see show of hands? All right. I want to give you a little homework. I'm sure you can find it somewhere on the Ministry of Finance website. Go and read the fiscal responsibility law. This law is not about politicians, it's not about unions, it's about you and getting your pension money from NIS when the time comes. So you've got to take an interest. Go and read the law and ensure that the law is followed. I'm not going to go through this, but these are some of the key areas covered under the law. The second recommendation then is for government, because the government has to lead on this, not the National Insurance Board or the management. They have done their part. Government ought to adopt a sense of urgency about the implementation of the key parametric reforms recommended in recent actuarial valuation reports. Minister mentioned Actuarial Report 8, 9, 10, 11. They are basically saying the same thing. We've got to begin to implement those recommendations. And what are those recommendations? Raise the pension age to 65, the pensionable age. Now some of you say, what? But we're late. In St. Kitts, it's 62. In Dominica, it's moving to 65. In St. Vincent, it's moving to 65, I think. In Barbados, it is 67. Where are we in Grenada? 60. We've got to get on with the retirement age. In fact, I remember back in 2011, I had suggested that for the government, and of course I was hoping NIS would do it with government, that we increase it over a 10-year period. So every other year we raise it by 1 year. So in 10 years' time, you increase it from 60 to 65. I noted the actual report said over 16 years. I'm actually a little more aggressive on that one, and I'm suggesting that we aim for over a 10-year period. With allowance for people who are close to retirement. So if you're close and you're almost there, you won't necessarily have to wait for 5 years to retire. But there will be early and late retirement factors that can accommodate you. Maybe you get a little less if you go a little earlier, you get a little more if you stay on until 65, that sort of thing. But that absolutely has to be done. Increase the contribution rate to 11%. That is in the actuarial report. It's at 9%. It's been there for 20 years. It has got to increase. And what we need is a gradual increase. So if we put a 0.5% and we keep going, it is an increase, but it could be done over time and we could get up to where we need to be. Partial indexation of pensions. What does that mean? Some attempt to tie pensions, NIS pensions, with inflation. Because what happens is that over time, as inflation happens, the cost of living goes up, pensioners will find that in real terms, they are losing money or they're getting less money. And so right now in the government, that happens because what happens in the government right now with government pension? When government negotiates with the unions, the government pensioners get whatever increases and negotiate with the labor unions. So we need to see some kind of adjustment for pensioners in the NIS, where there is some adjustment over time to take account of inflation. And that is what that recommendation is all about. The other recommendation, adopt a funding policy. That was already mentioned. Essentially, if we're going to fund the scheme, given what we have to deliver in benefits, we have to come up not just with an investment policy, which is great and which exists, but a funding policy. How much money must we raise? What must the return be to allow us to pay X benefits in X period of time? That funding policy now has to be developed. And then, of course, is the idea of automaticity. Rather than every 20 years coming and having this conversation, we need to build in automatic adjustments. So as we go and as the scheme grows and matures, you get to a point where you're not going back to government every time. You set it up, a 0.5 here, a 0.5 there, and over time, it's like saving. $100, $100, $100, you put a standing order, you forget the $100, you're not even seeing it when it comes out, and then you wake up 3 years later and wow, you have $5,000 or whatever it is, and you say, ooh, I'm actually saving some money. But I did better by setting aside $100 every month through a standing order where I'm not even seeing it, so after a while I don't even remember that it's coming out. That's the kind of approach we're going to need here to ensure that we could manage this in an optimal way. I'm almost done. A couple other recommendations. We need to continue to target the self-employed, because what's happening is that the largest bulk of the employment in our country comes from small businesses and from a lot of self-employed people. And so I understand that the coverage ratio is growing or increasing, but we have to continue to bring these people in. Because remember, when they retire, if they do not have any means to fall back on, they're going to come to the government. So you want to get them making a contribution, helping to grow the fund, and also have something to collect when they can no longer work for themselves. National insurance scheme, national health insurance needs to be fully funded. So I fully support the idea of national health insurance. It makes sense, it's key to delivering health care, but it has to be fully funded. NIS can't pay for national health insurance. So the idea of leveraging the administration that already exists in NIS makes perfect sense. And that's what is being done. You don't have to build another structure that you have to pay for. NIS already has an efficient structure. You leverage that structure. That is what is proposed. That makes a lot of sense. But the actual paying of healthcare benefits must come from a different source in terms of funding. And I know the government is considering that. So I want to be very clear. I support health insurance, but NIS, it has to be funded in addition to what is happening with NIS. And finally, I think at some point we need to consider a modest introduction of a modest unemployment benefit. I know this one is a little bit of a stretch for us, but given the high level of unemployment in our country still, and given what we've seen in response to hurricanes and so on, we need to build in some kind of feature in the scheme, in the fund, that allows us to do that and that it can be funded so that it's not ad hoc, because when it's ad hoc, it's taken away from other benefits that have to be paid over time. So that's something to think about. It will need a small contribution rate, maybe a 0.5%. I don't know, but that is something we want to think about. So, in conclusion, because I said I'm going to be brief, in conclusion then, I leave you with one of my favorite quotes by Jack Welch, former CEO of General Electric. I say this in the central bank all the time. All the time. If the rate of change outside is faster than the rate of change inside, the end is in sight. I think you're smart enough and you understand what I just said. If things are operating in the external environment, in the operating environment, and they're moving faster than what you're doing inside, you are going to go out of business. And in the case of the NIS, it is going to run out of money over time. And so it behooves us to begin to implement the reforms now. If we do that, then we can ensure the sustainability of the NIS long into the future, so that when some of us, including myself, ultimately retire, we will have something to get. And finally, final word, summary of what I've said tonight to you. My key takeaways, your key takeaways. Respect the fiscal responsibility law. It's for us. It's not for the politicians. Let's be very clear about that. It is for us. You and me. Our future. Our salaries at the end of the month. Our benefits when NIS has to pay it. That is what that is all about. Commence implementation of the reforms without further delay. And I am hoping and praying, as the minister said, they will start next year. We're going to have to engage people around these reforms. We have to advise and educate the nation about what it means. So there has got to be a communication plan and a clear understanding of why it is being done and for whose benefit. So that is a very important part of actually implementing. And finally, and I didn't touch on it much tonight, we have to collaborate. A lot of the issues that the Social Security NIS is facing are issues that are being faced across the region. Some are more dire than others. And one of the things, for example, that the ECCB has been encouraging is a pooling of reserves, pooling of resources to invest to get better returns. I have engaged the Social Security schemes on this point. I have engaged the World Bank on this issue. The World Bank is willing to partner with us. Because what happens sometimes is that they're investing, but when you look at what they have to pay for the money managers, it's not working out. It's too expensive. We could do a lot better job if we pool our resources. And who should know better than the ECCB itself, that pools our foreign reserves, invests them, and has been able to manage the foreign reserves for our currency union for the last 35 years. And so those are my parting words. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this perspective. On another occasion, I might have talked about the fourth industrial revolution and what that means for Grenada. But right now, we have an actuarial report that tells us what we have to do. Let's focus on that. First things first, and then we'll get to that. God bless you. Happy anniversary. Merry Christmas to everyone.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming!
For our colors to be displayed with pride. Time to hit the road with excitement. Time for the red, green, and gold. This Saturday, January 19th. It's time for the National Independence Motorcade. Decorate your vehicles, team up, carpool. Grab your team, and we're hitting the road. Motorcade assembles at Burns Point in St. George and leaves at 9 a.m. Making our way onto the town of St. George, onto River Road, up Marisol, down the lane, onto Woodlands, all the way up the eastern side onto Sautez, and down the western side. It's a fun-filled and action-packed day of activities with artists performing at various stops. Cook your oil down and let's have a ball of a time. This Saturday, January 19th, the National Independence Motorcade, celebrating 45 years under the theme Building Resilience and Enhancing Social and Economic Transformation. And don't forget our National Colors Day, February 6th.
Yes, and we're back. Just thought it important for you to hear that one, yeah? Very clear, concise explanation of everything, including the fiscal responsibility legislation, the necessity, especially with the implementation of the National Health Insurance and upgrading of the health sector. Once those are taken into consideration, the average lifespan, the lifespan of the average Grenadian will increase, which means people are going to be living longer, which means that they can also work longer if they so desire. So that there is a necessity now to move the age of retirement from 60 to above 60. Yeah, in some countries regionally it's 61, in some it's 65, in some it's 63. In one, in fact, it's actually 67. So different countries have been doing it incrementally. So countries have not just been coming and saying, okay, we're going to move our age of retirement from 60 to 67. They haven't just done it like that, but incrementally over a period of time. So they may take a 10-year period and decide that we're going to increase the age of retirement over that period of time to, let's say, 65. But we're going to take the first 5 years, and then we're going to move it to 61. And then we're going to move it, on the following 2 years, we're going to move it to 63. And over that period of time, that will get it to 65 or 67. Mr. Cethahal, good morning to you, bro. And how are you and the wonderful folks down there at Digicel, the bigger, better network? Digicel! Yes, indeed. Yeah. And it is important that if you're doing that, if you're improving your healthcare sector, which means that a person will still be very healthy and capable of work at the age of 60, 61, 62, that if that person so desires, that person can continue to work within a service. It would also help some individuals, like a good friend of mine, who, due to the age of retirement and the age that he entered the public service, he would be retiring from this public service exactly 6 months before he attains the age of retirement. Before he attains the amount of time that would ensure that he gets a pension. Because, you know, you have to spend 26 3/4. And he's falling 6 months short of that because he has to retire when he gets to the age of 60. As it is right now, he has to retire. But when he retires, he would not qualify for a pension because he has made the requisite amount of time. So all of these are things that definitely have to be looked at. Yeah, and all of that is what Mr. Timothy Antoine has been saying. And you heard my indignation last year and my continued indignation at the LL, my good friend LL, Mr. Lewis, the President General of the Teachers Union, when he continues to say that they don't really care about no fiscal responsibility legislation. They want to hear about that. But you must want to hear about that. Because if government was to just go spending willy-nilly, decide, okay, we're going to give the unions 25%, but if we're giving them 25%, then we're going to give some other area here 30% increase in something, or we're going to just spend $1 billion on this area, whether it's productive or non-productive, we don't care. We're going to spend $1 billion on that area and just spend willy-nilly. What you want to see is that your government is spending in the proper format. As Mr. Antoine said in that piece there, back in 2012, he made the recommendation that fiscal responsibility be placed into the Constitution. In fact, with the attempt at constitution reform in 2016, one of the things included there was fiscal responsibility. But of course, we knew what happened with that. But you still have the law in place in relation to it right now. While it's not in the Constitution, which is where I also believe that it needs to be, it is still within the law of Grenada. And anyone can go to the Ministry of Finance website. You could go to the Government of Grenada's page and go to the Ministry of Finance website, and you would see the fiscal responsibility legislation. It's an interesting read for those of you who are interested in that sort of thing. I'm seeing my two Depredine friends here. Lincoln is saying one way to help top up the system is to find a mechanism where Grenadians in the diaspora can contribute to something like the proposed National Health Initiative. Grenada doesn't have a large enough pool of workers, and you can only tax those workers so much, especially if their salaries are not rising fast enough to keep up with the growing demand for more and more social services. And Depot is saying too many in Grenada listen to reply instead of listening to learn. And that's correct, Depot. A lot of people listen to you so that they could flip what you say or attack you or spin it to their own means and not to learn from what you're saying. Questions framed as a speech and wonder why at the end of the day their questions are left unanswered because it was never asked. And I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So during next week, though, we will replay that presentation for you again, because I believe it's very important that people listen carefully to what was said there. We have a caller. Hello?
Mr. Scott?
Yes, sir.
Pleasant morning to you, sir.
Morning.
It's been, yes, well, I've been listening to everything, but and I wanted was to just listen, but I cannot afford to let our audience go into the weekend, you understand, without that kind of scorecard. So when people talk, they will have a much better idea in terms of their response. Now, let me quickly run through it. Mr. Scott, listen, eh? That was the economic and financial scorecard in 2012 under the former administration, which was the NDC. Now, the economy under the NDC, minus a negative growth. Under the NNP, 5% to 5.5% growth. Unemployment under the NDC, 40%. Under the NNP is 24%. Creditworthiness under the NDC was negative. Under the NNP is positive. National debt service under the NDC, 70% of every dollar went towards our national debt. Under the NDC, under the NNP is 48%. Construction under the NDC was either it was moaning or groaning. Construction under the NNP is booming. Monthly national deficit under the NDC, $18 million. Under the NNP, we have a surplus. Salary under the NDC was late. Under the NNP, is very early. Public servants benefits under the NDC was zero. Public servants benefits under the NNP is over $110 million. Scholarship under the NDC, less than $10 million. Under the NNP is over $40 million. Teachers made prominent under the NDC, 20. Under the NNP is over 300. Only childhood facility for the Northwest constituency in St. Andrews. Under the NDC, nothing. Under the NNP, a state-of-the-art facility. Benefit to the poor and vulnerable under the NDC was negative. Under the NNP is positive. Mr. Scott, I'm saying all of this to say that now it's quite obvious. Not everyone might feel or see the progress or feel the benefits. Some things take time, but that's where we. But the former scorecard that I give there, that is where we was under the NDC, in contrast to where we are now under the NNP. Brothers and sisters, these facts are factual and truthful. And as a result of that, you can go into the weekend analyzing this data and realize that despite the fact of the challenges that we faced in this country today, this government, this NNP government, under the leadership of Dr. Kit Claudius Mitchell, has done significantly well and have made significant progress in contrast to the former administration that we had in this country. Mr. Scott, I trust that you will have a pleasant weekend, sir.
Same to you, my brother. All right. Yeah, and that's a kind of nice way to end the program today. But again, remember, civil servants will be receiving, their salary as of Monday. I know many of them are kind of looking for that weekend to pass fast. This weekend will be long for a lot of people because they're looking at the bank account and they're looking at the bank account and they're looking at the bank account. So some of them, the weekend is going to be a long one for them, and they're looking forward. They're looking forward to Monday when salaries would be paid early. All right. So in that, remember tomorrow we're going to be having the Independence Motorcade. That's going to be starting from 9 a.m. at the Burns Point. So get your flags, your I'm going to say rags, but I prefer that you use your national colors. Yes, your T-shirts and so on, and all of your national colors. You can dress your vehicles. You could carpool as a family. Decide you're going on the motorcade. You have your picnic and you put together your lunch and thing this evening, and you can hit the road tomorrow. Might be a nice opportunity as well to take the family on an island tour. Maybe some of the children may not know different parts of Grenada. It's a good opportunity to take them around the island. All right, so that'll be starting from 9 a.m. tomorrow. Various constituencies do have buses, I believe, going on the motorcade. So you can contact the different constituency representatives. And I watching saw them salary them day and on then boy, Monday. I wish it was me. Some people used to be getting a local. I say not local, but there's a lot. Some people used to be getting a 7,800 back in 2016. Now they're getting a little close to 9,000 by. Wow. Some people used to be getting 6,300 back in 2016, in the public service, and we're not talking about ministers here, we getting around 7 grand. Yeah, boy. Looking nice. Some people used to be getting 3,700 back in 2016. As of Monday, these people will be getting over $4,000 a month. I ain't jealous of them. I ain't jealous of them at all. All I'm saying is that in the same way, some of these very same people that we're talking about here, who back in 2016 used to be getting those money and getting that money as of Monday, and who also are going to be paying 2% less on personal income tax. Yeah, 2% less on personal income tax. So they're paying less personal income tax, more disposable cash in their hand. And once they are traveling officers, and generally the people at this salary range are traveling officers, who will also be receiving a 50% concession on vehicles, and that has been in place a very long time. You often hear people speaking of concessions for government ministers without mentioning that all public servants who are traveling officers also have a 50% duty-free concession. Duty-free concession on vehicles, including some of the very same union leaders that you hear speaking about and talking about government ministers are concession. They ain't talking about their concession. They're speaking about government ministers' concession. They ain't speaking about their traveling allowance. Oh, you didn't know they get traveling allowance? Yes, they do. They ain't speaking about their traveling allowance and their duty-free concessions, but they're speaking about government ministers' own. But they're letting you know that they're getting too. Yes, they are. Yeah, including some of the same union leaders who talking. Yes, they are. So when I hear people like LL jump out and say, I hear him say congrats. I mean, I see Brian Grimes come out and he do it right. Where you seeing, boss? Brio. I see Brian come out and he say, he congratulate the government because they wasn't looking for it, but they get it. So they're thankful. I just say, nice. Brian, I'm glad. I'm happy. Because you did the decent thing. You didn't listen to indecent people who have their, as you tell somebody on the program, they have their agenda. They have their warped political agenda. I put in the word warped and political. But you told them they have their agenda. And we know it's a warped political agenda. That is why they're in opposition right now. Blah, 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 etc., etc., etc. You know the whole story. But you have been able to say, thank you. Because we didn't expect it and we get it, so thanks. And I'm glad that you were able to do that. But it's disappointing that Mr. President of the Teachers Union or whoever is the PRO in the Teachers Union ain't talking, because, Brian, you can't talk on their behalf. You could talk on the public workers' behalf. I ain't hear Tau talk either for the 1 or 2 people that under Tau, and so I ain't hear them say anything. I ain't expect to hear from police and prisons and nurses and them. I ain't expect to hear from them. But I ain't hear teachers because they are more vociferous, they're noisy. We want we money now. You get money early now, you ain't saying nothing. Yeah? All you know, does remind me of a song that I go end with today. Folks, that's all the time we have for Hard Talk today. Remember, it's wonderful being here with you. In whatever you say, do it safe and secure. I want to be speaking to and with you and not about you. Love each and every one of you. Independence Motorcade later, tomorrow from 9, right? And also remember, for those of you out in New York, head on out to the NNP brunch. Yeah, the NNP brunch, that'll be taking place, let me get the exact, 9302 Universal Place, Ditmas Avenue. Yes, so that's the corner of E93rd Street. Tickets $25 for adults. Children under 12, only $15. Starting 11 a.m. and going down to 8 p.m. Everybody tell somebody. The place cold, so we go in and get a place. We have some nice little rivers and Clark's Court, some cocoa tea and all them different kind of things. And some nice Grenadian breakfast. You could go and you could get some sago porridge and you could get some, all kind of thing. Go and get thing. Right? I know last I get some sago to get some sago porridge. Yes, so head on out to that tomorrow. Remember, that's 930 Ditmas Avenue, corner of E93rd Street. Tickets $25 for adults, children under 12, $15 starting at 11 a.m. My good brother Alan Campbell, morning, sir. Yeah, Zingo, morning. Yeah, all of you out there, keep warm, Keep warm. Folks, we're out of here. Enjoy the rest of the day.
coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming!
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.